We accept nasty greens. All right, so what I like to do, I like to put it under the text layer so we can see if we are covering it or not. So yeah, this is pretty good. We just need to make sure this shape is extend all the way until it covers this part of the H. So let's do that. Let's grab the anchor point tool and move the shape and put it on this side. In order to make it like snap on, you want to hold down Control and then or Command if you're on the Mac, and you just snap it on like that, easy peasy. Okay, cool. So we can go back and use the selection tool and now expand the shape until it's like this. That looks good. Now you must be wondering, what was the point of the anchor point? Well, moving the anchor point is important because the anchor point dictates how you're scaling the shape. For instance, if we move it back to the middle of the green shape, let's close that. If we move it back to the middle, and then now you are expanding the scale, notice how it's now moving, is also increasing from the left. We don't want that. We only want it to increase from the right, right? So that's why we do that. Very cool. Remember, we named this sheep into something else. We're gonna name this HR because wait, no, it'll be HL because it's on the left side. Now we're gonna do the same thing for the H on this side. Control D, duplicate, hold down Shift, hold down the left click mouse button, and drag it all the way until it covers the other H, and that looks good. Alrighty, we're going to rename this into HR. This is the right side of the H, and then let's grab the shape tool again, and let's try to cover the middle part the best we can. Okay, that looks good. Oh, oopsie, I accidentally made I accidentally made a mistake. We put two rectangles in one shape layer. That's not what we want to do. Of course, you can always Control Z to get rid of it. Or what you can do is, man, well, because I love this shape so much, I don't want to get rid of it. We can always right click, new shape layer. We can click on the rectangle shape that we want to move. Control X to cut and Control V to paste. And oops, well, have that out. Well, we edit this out. Another way we can do it is duplicating this HR and renaming this to HM for H middle. Also a clothing company. You can also just delete this and delete that. Rectangle 1 was the right side of the H, and rectangle 2 was the middle. We got rid of rectangle 2 and HR because we want to keep the right and get rid of the middle. And for HM, we want to keep the middle but get rid of the right. So now we have this. Cool, nice, snazzy. Now, is this perfect? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we can move it more to the... Maybe we can increase the scale just a bit towards the right. Let's do that. Okay, that looks good now. Alright, so let's do the end this time. So for the end, honestly, we can really just duplicate, copy, and paste the HR and just move it like this and just scoot it until it looks good. That looks fine. And rename this to NL. Let's do this again. We'll move it to this side and R. And now, Danny, what the heck? There's a diagonal line. Do I have to like, what should I do with this line, with this diagonal line, Danny? Okay, well, one thing we can do is pretty simple actually. Just duplicate this, shift it it cover the diagonal part like that. Let's even color this to something else so we can tell it apart from the other green shapes here. Use the anchor point, move it all the way there. It's already moved. That's great. Now we can expand it until it completely covers this. Because if you know how track matte works, as long as the part you want to track matte is covering or intersecting the shape, it should work. And how we're going to animate this is we're going to use the scale to move from 0% to 100. So it gives an illusion that it gives an illusion that we're doing a diagonal line. And let's make this an M. Pretty cool. All right, now let's do R. Hey, what's up, R? How you doing? Would you like to be track matted? I hope you say yes. So, once again, bada bing, bada boom. Cover it as best you can. That looks fine. We definitely going to have to fix it later because this is not perfect. But it's hard to tell if it's perfect or not until we go to the next stage. But we'll get there. Let's call this R spine. It's kind of like the spine. And before we start to, let's actually move this back just a little bit. Before we move on, let's actually color our little layers here. So in order to select more than one layer, you can hold down Control and then individually select the layers you want to be included. Click on the little color box and pick whatever your heart content. This is a Saturday that I'm feeling a seafoam Saturday, so let's do that. So now the M is seafoam color, which helps with the eyes. Seeing a bunch of blue layers kind of make things all look the same. So for the art, we can make it sandstone. Actually, I don't like that color. Let's do orange. Yeah, sounds good. Now, one important thing when you animate your name, you want to first imagine how you're going to animate this. What part of the letter do you animate first? Which part of the letter do you animate last? Now for the art, obviously you draw the stem first, and then after that, you draw the curve, and then you end it off with a little leg. So let's do that. We first gotta make the curve. Now, you can't really make curves with this. So how are we going to make the curve shape for this? Well, we're going to use the pen tool. Pen tools can be pretty scary, can be pretty awkward to use the first time, but all it takes is practice, and this is just a simple curve, so it won't be that difficult. So first, let's start here because we don't want to touch this, and let's just point at the middle of the curve, and then while we dragging it, you notice like, oh, it's not really straight. Well, you can straighten that out by holding Shift. Oh, I was not pressing Shift. That's why I was pressing Caps Lock. Yeah, put your pen in the middle, drag it, and then hold Shift, and then now it should be straight or this straight or 45-degree angle, whatever you want. But we're gonna make it like this, trying to mimic the pattern. Let's go to fill. Let's get rid of fill. Get out of fill, and then let's go to stroke. Enable the stroke, and then let's mess with the size so it's fits like that. Okay, nice. So we got the pen tool, so we can edit the points. Now, one good tip to edit the points is hold down Shift. Hold down Shift will let you easily select the points, and then you can press V or click the selection tool to get the selection back. And just move like this. That's good. We also want to keep in mind of keeping this part straight. And if you move it like this, notice how, yeah, it's not straight. So let's keep that in mind. Okay, let's go back here, and then let's end it off like this. Okay. Let's move this just a little bit forward. Okay, let's see. Let's move this down here. Okay, we definitely do not want the red part to be touching the leg here, because it will, because like I said, if we imagine how we're going to animate, this will show first and then this will show second, and because the leg is intersecting also with this curve we made, it's going to show off that bump and it's not going to look good. So we're going to fix that. We're going to fix that by click the pen again, holding down shift, and then going back to selection tools and then moving this like that and moving this until it doesn't show much. Okay, that looks fine. We can always edit a bit later, but honestly, it's probably not so bad. Okay, so if you figured out how we're going to animate this, it's going to be basically like this. So we're going to draw a shape. Oh, look at that. Ooh, oh, that the stroke is on. Turn it off. Go back to fill. Alrighty. Let's move this below the text. And then let's just keep drag it like this. I think this is fine. It's fine that it intersects because this is like the last thing the last part is gonna animate. So the P will already be there. So it won't mess up like the order of what is showing. Okay, so we got that covered. Now let's move this here so we can cover the last toe of the R. Okay, nice. Let's go back. Gotta rename it. Don't be lazy with the naming. We can call this curve, and then we can call this r/leg. And we can change it to orange. All right, for the Y, once again, how are we going to animate this? What comes first? What comes last? Well, when I write W, did I just say W? No, Y. When I write Y, what I would do is I would draw this part first, and then I'll one stroke this, and then the second stroke would be this, and bang. So that's how I'm going to do it here. We're going to use a square. We're going to do something a little bit different for the Y, but bear with me. First, we're going to draw it like this. Okay. And then we're going to use the points and animate, not animate, but you're going to use a point to this, to make the shape of this Y. And in order to do that, you first need to go to the layer that the rectangle we just made. Go to content, give us the drop down menu for rectangle, drop this down. Actually, we don't really need to do that. We can just right click on rectangle path 1, convert to Bezier path. And what that does, it allows us to actually edit the points like that. Doot and a doot. So let's make it look like this. It looks pretty good. Let's also make sure that the top is parallel to the bottom, so the animation will look better. I think it's like this. Yeah, there we go. Now how we're going to animate this part, we're going to do the exact same thing we did for the curve. So we're going to use the pen tool. Hello, pen tool. Welcome back. So let's just draw like here, and in the middle, like here. Oopsie, like here. Hold down shift, and then click at the bottom. What shift does is straighten it out. And that's what we want. Fill is on. Let's turn it off. clicking on the fill button, and then clicking on none, click OK, go back to stroke, click on solid color, and there we go. Let's bring this below the text. Yeah, it definitely covers it. Looks good, but we'll see how good it is once we start animating this. Let's rename to YR and YR because the one I put white is actually left. So YL and let's give space to that. Okay. I'm going to Control S to save, or you can click File and Save. Since I already saved, it's grayed out. Okay, cool. So after we've done with all this, we can select this layer, hold down Shift, and then select the bottom layer to select a section of layers you want. And let's right click and let's give it a classic pre-compose. Just have this setting on, call this track matte. There you go. If you were wondering why we are using these letters instead of like an actual name, it's because I think these letters contains a good variety of shapes. Like you got the curves, you got diagonal lines, you got diagonal lines that comes into one, like this Y. And that's why I did it. So let's go track matte. Let's go to comp. Let's unlock this. And remember, we would need to have this text to track matte into the pre-comp folder we just made. If you can't find it, go to toggle switch / mode. And let's grab this pick whip and then pick it there. All right, now we see some issues here that we need to fix. Now, if you don't want to go keep looking back and forth when you edit this, one good way to have two views is just lock this screen, click on the next track matte, and then you see something right here, and just click on it, and now you can see both. This is really important because we can easily just fix things by moving things like that. The P is now fixed. That square is fine. This end has a little transparent line there, so let's fix that. Let's move this middle part to the left, and then we could extend the scale closer to the right on this side. Let's make sure it is. Okay, there you go. And yeah, everything looks fine for right now. There is this is also pretty weird. The little transparent single pixel, it doesn't make it look good. So let's bring that in to fix that. All right, this is the part where we can finally start animating. Also, let's change this Y color to like, I don't know, cyan. Okay, let's first start to animate the H. So H is pretty simple. We're going to be using just strictly the scale value to animate this. So let's click this, hold down Shift, and click H, and then press S to open up the scale property layer. S is like knowing these shortcuts is really important. It increases workflow, and you want to animate efficiently as possible. Because if you animate efficient as possible, you're saving time, and if you're saving time, you can use that time to make your animation look prettier. Right? All right. So let's zoom in here for a second, and let's move this to like 10 frames. Click on the stopwatch to create keyframes. Move it back. And let's drop this. Oh, actually, before we change the scale, we want to make sure our anchor point is in the correct position. So if we want to animate the text going from top to bottom, we want to move the scale up here. And then if we want to move this from left to right, we're going to push it, not push it, put it where it's at. That's a good spot. And then let's just move the anchor point down here. So we go bottom to top. So it would be like bam, boom, bam. Gotcha. Let's do that for the rest of the letters. Let's put them so we don't forget. Anchor point. If I had to draw this N, it will be up, diagonally down, and then up again. So this we'll move the anchor point down here. Anchor point is the correct spot there, and then let's move the anchor point down here again. For R, we want it to move from bottom to top. Oh, I mean, normal people would just draw it from top to bottom, so let's just do that. And then let's move this. That is correct. Now, since this is a pen tool, a curve line, a path, we don't anchor point. We don't need it because we are not going to be using the scale. We're going to use something else, and we will touch on that later. This one, we're going to do something else actually, and this one is a path, so we're going to do the same thing here to there, so we are not going to use a scale. So let's go back to H. All right, so H. Let's animate this. So let's go to HL and bring the y-axis to 0. Whoa. This is why it's good to have like two screens, because we can see what's happening here and here at the same time. Let's go to R. Actually, let's go to M. Let's bring M to the middle. And let's also bring... Oh, I almost forgot. I made a mistake. Remember to unlink the proportions, because we just only want to mess with one axis. We do not want to mess with both axes. So let's bring the y to 0. Let's do that again. HR. I mean HM. So yeah, we want to mess with the x, not for the y on that one. So 0. HR. Let's put that to 0. Okay, let's see what happens if we click play now. So one thing about After Effects, when you have two composition showing, it doesn't like animate them both correctly. You only animate like one. So in order to see this fully animated, we need to go back to comp 1 and then look at it. Or you just click on this actually. So that. Very interesting. I only see a mistake here. As you can see, the H is a little too big because it is showing this part. And it might not be that much of an issue actually, because when you want a name, you don't write everything at once. You start with line 1, line 2, line 3. We're going to sequence this. So we're going to move this like that. Move the HR to the end of the last frame of HM, and then move HM to the last frame of HL, and this is what we'll get. Yeah, that looks clean. That looks clean. So H is done. Let's go to N now. N is pretty much the same. We're going to be dealing with scales. So remember, unlink these, stopwatch them, move it to 10 frames, bring it back to 0, and then let's start thinking. So this is moving from top to bottom. So let's bring the X to 0. Uh-oh. Now that's not good. But we can worry about it later after we get the scale in order. This one will be, that's the right. Let's put the middle in the middle. They'll be using x-axis, so we're going to bring that to 0. R, they're going to be using the y-axis, so we're going to bring the y-axis to 0. And let's do the sequencing again. See how this looks. Ooh, yeah, that's a big problem. That looks bad. So let's fix that. How do we fix it? We're gonna go to the middle layer, go to the last keyframe, and let's edit the scale by very small intervals. So if this is 273.8, let's make it 273. Well, I get fat fingered 73.5. Okay, that's not enough. Let's do just classic 2s 273. Okay, let's do 272, 272.5, 272.7. All right, look like 272.5 works. Let's do that. See how it looks now. Slowly. Okay, that looks good. Now there is a little issue here. Like you can totally see how this shade of pixel is different from this, and you can notice it pretty easily. So let's try to fix that. Go back to track mat. What we can do is we can move this back just a little bit and see how that works now. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so there's an issue here. Notice when the animation for the diagonal end starts, the end of the left side is expanding just by 1 pixel, and if you have a sharp eye, you can definitely notice that. But if you look, but for most people, 99%, they will not see that. But it's very hard to try to fix this because just the way how thick this font is and like the size of this font and the shape of the font. Because like let's say we're gonna move this more white. What happens? It creates this empty semi-transparent layer. We don't want that, so let's just move it back and accept that. Yeah, it's gonna look a bit weird. There's many ways to animate this, and this is just one method, and every method have the pros and cons. Right? But the con for this is like you barely see it, especially when things are moving. People would not be focusing on stuff like the small details. They'll be focusing on how like ooh the letters move. Wow. So yeah. All right. So we're done with the end. Let's animate the R. First, we're gonna the scale is correct. Yep. Go to scale. Make a time keyframe. I mean, move it to 10 frames. Unlinked the scale, and let's drop that y to a 0. All right, cool. Let's go to the R curve. Now, since this is a path, we're going to use something special called the trim path. You can access it by going to the property layer, clicking add, and going to trim path. Trim path will let you control how much of the path is showing. And let me demonstrate for you. If I drag the end from 100% lower, you notice how it is. Pretty nice. So if you didn't guess already, we're just gonna use a stopwatch, enable it, bring this to 10 frames, and then moving this all the way down. Moving to 0%. And then we will bring the leg. This will also be scale. So let's click on that, unlink the proportions. This will be using the y-axis. So this is actually incorrect. So we're gonna move it up there. Move the anchor point to the top and use the y-axis to and type that to 0. Okay, let's see what we have. Press U. Pressing U would show all properties that have keyframes in them. Really useful shortcuts. This is how this looks. Yeah, slowly scrub through this and see if there's any mistakes we can try to fix. Okay, doesn't look too bad. My only issue is that tiny difference that's going to bother me. So let's see how much we can fix this. So the issue seems like the R is not back enough. This the R, I mean the spine is not back enough. So let's move it. Okay, that looks better. Yeah, it looks better. And let's do the animation again, see how that looks. All right, now you see an issue here. There's like, it shows this now. No thank you. So in order to fix that, we need to make this smaller. We bring this back. Uh-oh, well, that's what happens when you try to move it back. Let's see if we can make the stroke smaller even more. Oh yeah, that's an interesting P. Yeah, this can be pretty finicky trying to fix this. I think one way we can do this is using taper. Now, taper is another one of those things you can add, like trim path. Actually, it's not. Am I? Okay, actually, yeah. You know, get to taper. You're gonna go to content shape, stroke, taper, and then let's. What is this the end with? See if we can do something like this. Yeah, this is weird. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I think we have to edit this. Yeah, we have to edit this. Let's show this. And let's just try to fix this the old classic, old classic way. We gotta bring this up now. Yeah, I'm pretty focused on trying to fix this. Top is fine, but the bottom is it's not. Yeah, let's see how this looks now. I think we can increase it by just 49. See how this looks. Let's go back, hide this. That does not look great. Let's increase it. Honestly, I think what we had before is kind of like the best we can get. There's another way to do this instead of using the track mat here. Sorry, I mean not track mat. Instead of using the pen tool, we could, but let's just save that for another day. Wow, this P is like the bane of my existence. Let's move that up there. Fix this. It's like remaking the font. Pretty much. Yeah. This part of the P and this part are not equal, and that's why this is happening. So depending on your font you're choosing, it will look good or it will look bad. I want to see if we can use tape again. Okay, that looks good. That actually looks good. We did it, fellas. We fixed the R by using taper and a bit of careful fidgeting, moving around. Yay, we did it. Now let's do the leg now and see how that looks. Okay, leg looks weird. Fortunately, fixing this is pretty easy. We just want to just straight up just move it up. Did I say it was easy? Ooh, okay. Only that we have an issue is we also have an issue there too. Oh, let's increase this by, yeah, something I go back and forth, back and forth. Actually, you know what? Instead of, okay, edit this out. So let's go back here. Let's fiddle with the stroke. See how that looks now. Let's actually bring this part down just a little bit. Okay, that looks better. Okay. Yeah, that looks good enough. This actually looks good enough. Let's see how that looks again. I really do not like how this one single pixel is there. So let's fix that. This, yeah, it looks a lot better. Okay, cool. Let's do the Y, the last letter of this name. if you want to spell Henry without the E. So in order to animate this, we will have to animate the path, the shape path of it. So let's go to 10, click path here, and then move back to 0. So we want it to go from top to bottom, so that means we're going to have to drag the 2 points here and bring it all the way up like that. Now we gotta fix that now, and what's causing that is this part of the Y. Let's enable this again so we can have a better look. So this one's pretty easy. All we really need to do is just move this here, and then let's grab the pen tool, click shift, so we can easily click on that. Or just drag it, something like this. And just moving it more to the, yeah, that's fine. Actually, it doesn't really matter much because if you remember the order of how to animate this, we're first going to do the left side and then the right side second. So it doesn't really matter that the right side is like covering that, because remember this is a curve. We're going to use trim path, open up trim path, go to end, bring it over here, put the key point there, move it back to 0, bring that to 0, bring that to 0. Let's see how this looks. Let's hide that. Okay, we also forgot to bring this to the last layer. See how this looks? I do notice something strange. This tiny little pixel that we gotta fix. And we can just do that by just bringing it like that. Let's see what happens if we do that. Yeah, it looks fine. Oh, it looks good. All right, cool. So let's see what we have so far. Pretty cool, pretty cool. We have a bunch of layers open. Let's clean this up by Control A to select all layers. Press U 2 times to close it all up. And let's press the U again. Actually, let's put this in the correct order, like this, like that. And now if we go back, close this. This is what we have. Very interesting. So that's how you do it. That's how you write your name in After Effects. A lot of finicky stuff, a lot of tedious work, but at the end you make something like a cool intro for your demo reel or for your website. You know, of course, make this faster. You can do something else with it, add more details to it. Like for instance, we can add easy ease. And let's do that real quick. This is kind of like a bonus lesson. Is easing this. First, we select all those layers, and we want to bring it to the beginning. Let's hold down Alt, click Home. It'll move all the keyframes to the beginning. And let's just select all this. Go to the graph editor. Go to the speed graph, and then press F9 to easy ease them. Sorry. Press F9 the keyframes to easy ease them. Go back to the graph, and now we have something like this. This is the speed graph. It shows you the speed of the animation. The steeper it is, the faster we move, right? The faster we move from one point to the other. So the y-axis shows the speed, the bottom shows the time. So at this point it's 0. At 1 frame, it now moves in 45 scale per second. So in order to make this more cool looking, let's see what we have so far actually. Look kind of boring. In order to make it better, let's select all this and drag it all closer to the middle. And let's do this for the same thing. Do that same thing over here too. Drag it to the middle. Now what it does, it makes the animation more dramatic. So let's check how that will look like once we put this in the correct order. So I am holding down shift because while you're holding shift down, it will make the keyframe to be magnetic to the timeline, the time indicator line. Actually, is magnetic to other keyframes. So never mind. So let's see how it looks like now. Let's bring this down and let's click spacebar to play. Very interesting. It's definitely better using easy ease instead of just normal keyframes. Yeah, it looks like someone is writing with a marker. Alrighty, so that is creative challenge number 2. Open up After Effects and do what I just did. You can use your name, you can use anyone's names, you can use Obama, you can use I don't know, anyone you want. Some names will be harder to animate, some fonts will be harder to animate, some font will be easier to animate. So watch out for that.